provided that as March 1st, 2026. Future meeting notices will only be published on the district website. Meetings of the board are open to the public, and all members of the community should feel free to participate. The board announces that under its longstanding policy, it will not discuss in any public comments made by members of the public concerning individual staff members. Before coming to the board, the chain of command should be followed. There are two portions of the meeting reserved for comments made from the public, the first at the beginning of the meeting for agenda items only, and the second at the end of the meeting for all other items. Issues raised by the public may or may not be responded to by the board, but all comments will be considered. The board requests that all members of the public be mindful of the rights of others, individuals, when speaking. Due to confidentiality legal rights afforded by the state of New Jersey, members of the public are asked not to speak negatively or in a derogatory manner about any employee or any employee of the board or any student. Please be advised that all or portion of this meeting is being live streamed in real time and will be recorded for rebroadcasting at a future date. Roll call.
Mr. Fallon.
Here.
Mr. Garvin is absent. Mrs. Milano.
Here.
Mr. Vaccaro is absent. Mr. Biamonte.
Present.
Mr. Nieves.
Present. We actually have some things to celebrate. I just wanted to make a general announcement. Thanks for everybody's flexibility with the weather and moving our meeting to tonight. Because of that, we do have some conflicts with some of our board members, namely me. So we're actually going to go through the student of the month. We'll give everybody a little bit of time in case you want to depart. And then we're going to go straight into our resolutions for approval. And then we'll move back to our regular agenda. So without further ado, why don't we start with our student of the month?
Good evening, everyone. This year, the Doyle staff has broadened its categories for Student of the Month nominations to create a more inclusive recognition program. Each month, we celebrate different areas of student achievement. And for the month of December, we're excited to focus on music following our winter concert performances. Our Students of the Month were nominated and selected based on those who demonstrated outstanding talent, interest, and effort in music. We believe highlighting these young performing artists not only encourages them to keep pursuing their creative passions, but also fosters an appreciation for the arts. I now present to you my K4 Students of the Month. I'm going to start backwards. I'm going to start with 4th grade, Sophia Squio. Come here. Come on. 3rd grade, Bella Velasquez. In 2nd grade, Kianj Gupta. In 1st grade, Abigail Mucha. How pretty you look. And in kindergarten, Riley Horowitz. We're going to take our picture. Wow, how great. Congrats. Little musicians. This past month, we were excited to focus on computer science in recognition of our growing emphasis on digital literacy and innovation. We believe that recognizing these young coders and problem solvers not only motivates them to continue developing their skills in those areas, but also encourages them computational thinking, creativity, and perseverance. So without further ado, I present to you my K4 Computer Scientists of the Month. In 4th grade, please come up, Markian Beskoro Vainyi. I did my best, Markian. In 3rd grade, Rosalind Zoller. There you are, Rosalind. Nice. In 2nd grade, my friend Tenzin Funsak. Come on up. Here too. In first grade, Tiago Camelo Moreno. And last but not least, in kindergarten, Jaden McCullough. Okay, next month, stay tuned. We're going to be spotlighting our artists. Okay, we're going to take a picture. All right. Congrats, my friends. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to recognize our December and January Students of the Month from the Woodridge Intermediate School. Each month, our staff selects students who will consistently demonstrate what it means to be a true Blue Devil. We show respect, responsibility, kindness, and pride in everything that we do. These students stand out for their character and positive impact that they have on our school community. For the month of December, we proudly recognize in grade 5, Abigail Garcia. I don't see her here. In 6th grade, we have Dallas Cifelli. You look good. And for the arts and athletic, we have Caden Sylvain. For the month of January, we proudly recognize in 5th grade, Nermina Lekic. In 6th grade, Sparsh Gupta. And for arts and athletic, Demola Famu Ide. How'd I do? Congratulations to all of our winners. Your hard work, leadership, kindness set the tone for our school, and we are incredibly proud of the examples you set. Let's give them one more well-deserved round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are proud to recognize our December and January Students of the Month for the Woodridge Junior Senior High School. The winter months can be challenging. The days are shorter, the weather is colder, and it can be easy to lose a bit of motivation after the excitement of the holidays fade. Yet, it is during this time of the year that character, resilience, and dedication truly shine. These students have continued to put their best foot forward each and every day. They come to school prepared, engaged, and ready to learn. They demonstrate responsibility in their academic work, kindness towards their peers, and respect for their teachers. Even when the routine of winter sets in, they remain focused on their goals and committed to doing their very best. To our Students of the Month, we are incredibly proud of you. Thank you for your hard work, your integrity, and your continued commitment to excellence. We're going to start with December. For our 7th grade, we have Angelina Schreiber. For our 8th grade, we have Milan Vargas. For our 9th grade, we have Ethan Montero. For our 10th grade, we have Brooke Bazeski. Ethan. For our 11th grade, we have Devin Gravina. And for our 12th grade, we have Nathaniel Arnone. For January, in the 7th grade, we have Christopher Kennedy. For our 8th grade, we have Danita Ramirez Balbuena. For our 9th grade, we have Joseph Baccassini. For our 10th grade, we have Yara Abbas. For our 11th grade, we have Ava Samik. And for our senior, we have Isabella Rossi. Congratulations, guys. I'm gonna take a picture. Stand. Good, good. Everybody? Hold on, friends are coming. Good job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Students, parents, congratulations. We're about to move into our agenda. We're going to start with our resolutions, but I will take a pause and take a break. If anybody doesn't want to sit for the full agenda, this is your time to exit. If not, we'll see you at the next meeting. So typically, we will go through our student rep report. We do have a presentation by Ms. Mussel today. We have a board administrator's report, superintendent, and then after approval of minutes, we get into our resolutions. Unfortunately, I have a prior engagement, and we do have some resolutions that, and some of you are here probably to talk about. So I'm going to go straight into our committee reports. I'll read through each one of them. We'll do a hearing of the citizens and staff, and then we'll go ahead and vote, and then we'll go back into our regular agenda. So I appreciate it, everyone. Trustees, before I get started on resolutions, any comments, questions? Good. All right. Curriculum instruction, we have approval of an evaluation request, approval of a field trip request, approval of a field trip request, which includes Moonachie, approval of a professional development request, approval of an amending related services, approval to purchase equipment, approval of Teachers Wellness Day, approval of an out-of-district placement, which includes Moonachie, approval of out-of-district placements. I'm going to call that out at the end. For personnel, we have approval of chaperones, which was tabled from our February 2nd meeting. We have approval of a personnel appointment for 25-26 district substitutes, which includes Moonachie. Approval of a coaching appointment, which includes Moonachie. Approval of rescission of appointment. Approval of request for leave of absence includes Moonachie. Approval of personnel appointment includes Moonachie. Approval of personnel appointment and approval of a mentor. Under policy, we have approval of policies and approval of regulations, both which include Moonachie. For buildings and grounds, we have the approval of the facilities request, which includes Moonachie, and approval of facility request, which does not. Under finance, we have our approvals of a bill list, approval of a monthly financial reports of the board secretary and treasurer, approval of a certification of a balanced budget, approval of budget transfers, approval of a fund transfer. All of those include Moonachie. Then we have an approval of a fundraiser. We have approval of an acceptance of donation, which includes Moonachie. We have an approval of tuition reimbursement payments for 25 summer and fall semester WREA. Approval of tuition reimbursement payments for 25 summer, fall semester WRAA. We have the approval of health insurance notice of cancellation. We have approval of designation of new health insurance provider. We have approval of designation of health benefits broker of record. We have the approval of entry into New Jersey Solutions Joint Health Insurance Fund. All of those do include Moonachie. Under board operations, we have the approval to change the date for the intermediate school sixth grade promotion. And that is it. We do have one walk-in today, which I am going to read. And this will be new to curriculum and instruction. We have a motion to disenroll students 52007423 and 52008573 following a residency hearing pursuant to NJAC 6A:22-4.3 and 6A:22-4.2B4. Do I have any comments, questions, or concerns from the trustees before I open it up to the citizens on hearing resolutions only? No. All right. I'm going to open it up to anybody here in the audience on the resolutions only. If you feel free to make comment, come up to the podium and give us your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Steve Olson.
Mike.
I'm a teacher, math teacher here at the high school. Do you need my address?
Turn it around, Mr. Olson.
All right, thank you. Do you need my address? Okay. I have three questions. In reading the proposed resolution, F10 to F13, I do not see any reference to a negotiated agreement to this proposal by the Teachers Association to whom this change will directly affect. My questions are, 1, can you explain this omission? 2, has the Teachers Association been consulted and given the opportunity to negotiate? And 3, has the Teachers Association agreed to this change? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I have your questions, was this negotiated, was the WREA consulted? And did the WREA agree to the change? Is that how I understood it? Okay. So the selection of an insurance carrier is what's called a managerial prerogative, which means that is something that the board does not have to negotiate with the WREA. If there is an impact as a result of that change, that is something the board would have to negotiate. But the overall selection of the carrier is not something that has to be negotiated.
Anyone else? No, you'd have to come up here, Mr. Olson. Thank you.
The final question was, has the Teachers Association agreed to this change?
I honestly don't know. I have not had that discussion.
Have you had that?
The Teachers Association was informed of the change being made by the board. There was no agreement necessary.
Hello, Jonathan Hassinger. I'm a science teacher in the high school. Nice to meet some of you for the first time, but hi. My question, request is of a different nature, also regarding the insurance though. So years ago, when I was in college, there was one of our professors who had been in education for something like 40 years. And we asked him, you know, on one of the last days of class, hey, you've taught us all of this stuff. What's like the one thing that if we're not good at it, we should work on? And he thought about it for a little bit, and what he told us was wait time. Wait time is the number one thing. And then he asked us a question, why do you think that was? And all of us came up with a bunch of answers like, oh, it gives the time for kids to do calculations. It gives them time to think, all of that stuff. And he said, yes, that's all very true. But with wait time, you show your audience that you care about what they think and what they say. So I'm sure all of you do. That is not a question, that all of you care about your teachers. But most of us found out that this change was even being considered last Tuesday at 2:46. And for many of us, that meant not finding out until Wednesday morning. And obviously with a change like this, there's a lot of concern. There's a lot of things like, I know I'm an extremely efficient person. You can ask my principal, she will vouch for that. But for me, I'm still waiting for answers on how this affects me from various sources. And I don't, I basically go home and I have a cat. So I have plenty of time to do all that research. We're not all in that situation. Now, I do want to say, Mr. Lisa has been fantastic. I've asked him questions. He's answered everything he could. But there's some things that, a business administrator just won't have answers to when it comes to healthcare, and we wouldn't expect him to. But there are a lot of questions all of us have. And honestly, I think Mr. Lisa, in finding a solution to a very difficult problem, that of the cost of healthcare, I know, I've been on a board before that had to do this for the union we worked with. It's not easy, and it's a huge cost, and it's a cost you have very little control over. So finding a solution is really fantastic. However, I know, for speaking personally, there are concerns that I have about what this will mean for me personally and my, healthcare that I need, specifically for, prescriptions. There were some tools that were sent out that were also very helpful. But again, there's responses I'm waiting for to see, what if. So all I am asking for, again, just personally, and I think this would probably help a lot of the other individuals that have spoken to me, is if it's possible to just give us a little bit of time and table this motion, just so we can look into it and see how it affects us specifically. A week is not enough time, to do that. A month will barely be enough time to do that. But that's really all we need is just more time. I understand that as a board, your part of your responsibility is making sure financially that the district is in good shape. I get that. And again, good job for finding a solution to a really difficult problem, because I know this particular problem is not easy to find a solution to. We just want to make sure that for people like me, we can look into it and not have to worry and not have to choose between Woodridge and our personal health. I know that's not a decision any of you want us to have to make. So all we're asking for is just a little more time. Thank you.
Do you want to respond to that?
Mr. Hassinger, thank you. Everybody in the room should know, as Mr. Roberts mentioned earlier, the board's prerogative is to select the insurance carrier. And if this change results in any sort of difference in terms of the benefits not being good or better than, if the association finds those, I'll use the word hiccups, I'll use the word impact, we can then open negotiations to take care of that. The board is not going to turn their back on any of our members who suffers some sort of detriment because of the move. In terms of vetting this move, we feel that it is more than same or better. However, there could be pitfalls to it that could affect every member, one member, myself, Mr. Lisa, anybody. If that were to take place and we're made aware of it, the board is more than willing to negotiate and help remedy that situation, whether it be financially, whatever way it is. We do not intend to walk away from any member of our Teachers Association.
Anybody else? Mr. Lisa, is there anything that was sent to us? No. Nothing. All right, I will close the hearing of citizens on resolutions. Trustees, I know there was a lot said there. Any comments, questions? Good, Rich? Joe, Michelle? All right. Trustees, looking for your support. These resolutions do include Moonaki. We have curriculum instruction, 3 and 8. The last one, Dan, is Woodridge only. Personnel, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Policy and regulations, 1 and 2. However, we are going to table letter F under policies and regulations 1. Buildings and grounds, 1. Approval of facilities request. Finance, 1 through 5, 7 through 13. And none for board operations. Trustees, looking for your support. Can I get a first? Mr. Fallon, second. Mr. Biamonte, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Fallon,
Yes.
Mrs. Milano,
Yes.
Mr. Biamonte,
Yes.
Mr. Nieves,
Yes. And Rich, I will not forget the flip side of this. Trustees, looking for your support, which is for Woodridge only. Resolutions 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. We also have one that was a walk-in, number 10. We have personnel, 1, 4, 7, and 8. None for policy and regulations. Buildings and grounds, number 2, approval of facilities request. Finance, number 6, approval of fundraiser. And board operations, 1, approval to change the date of the intermediate 6th grade promotion. Trustees, looking for your support. Can I get a first? Mr. Fallon, a second. Mrs. Milano, discussion. Roll call.
Mr.
Yeah.
Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Garvin is absent. Mrs. Milano,
Yes.
Mr. Biamonte,
Yes.
and Mr. Nieves.
Yes. All right, we do have to get back to a regular agenda, and I appreciate everybody's patience with going out of turn there. We're actually going to work our way onto the, Tony, since we don't have any student reps, you're going to do that with your report? At the normal course.
Good evening. I'm going to deliver the student representative's report and then jump right into my report. January was a busy and exciting month with 3 different field trips taking place. Mrs. DiNapoli and the National Honor Society students partnered with Habitat for Humanity to help build a home for a family in need. Ms. Ganti took members of the Environmental Club and her biology classes to the aquarium at American Dream, where students toured the exhibits, learned about taxonomy, and received an overview of basic zoology. Mrs. Pitti also brought her Italian classes to the opera for a rich cultural learning experience. In December, a new club was created by a group of juniors called the Blue Hearts Club. This club focuses on service projects to support individuals in need. For their first service project, members assembled over 60 care packages for individuals experiencing homelessness. The packages included socks, combs, lotion, chapstick, deodorant, and other essential items. Continuing the theme of community service, Woodridge Junior Senior High School partnered with the county to participate in the SOUP, S-O-U-P Bowl competition against Garfield Middle School. Although we did not win, we are incredibly proud of our community for donating 885 cans of soup to the Assumption Food Pantry. Our 9th and 10th grade students attended an assembly led by a detective from the prosecutor's office to learn about internet safety. It was an informative experience, and students gained valuable knowledge about staying safe online. As we moved into February, marking period 2 report cards were released. We're proud to share that 180 students earned honor roll recognition and were celebrated with a breakfast this week. Course requests are currently underway, with our guidance counselors visiting all English classes to meet individually with students and review their course selections for next year. We also hosted our 8th grade open house, which was a wonderful afternoon. Our 8th graders enjoyed pizza with the administration, participated in course selection, took part in a scavenger hunt, and had the opportunity to hear about upperclassmen's experiences while engaging in trivia activities together. This month, our band, choir, and glee club students attended a performance of Drumline at the Bergen Performing Arts Center. Our students were seated front and center and thoroughly enjoyed the show. In athletics, bowling concluded their season with a second-round loss in the state tournament to North Arlington. We had a lot of first-year senior bowlers that had a great season together and progressively improved. Winter cheer showcased their skills in a packed house on senior night this past Friday. Alumni cheer came back to perform at halftime, and it was great seeing everyone. Coach Hines and Coach Franchini were honored at halftime as they coached their final game for Woodridge cheer as they're retiring from coaching. Thank you to both ladies for the amazing memories. Boys basketball had an impressive win on senior night over Eastern Christian on Friday. The boys are currently 13-13. Will travel to Newark Arts High School for the first round of the state tournament at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Girls basketball culminated their season with an overtime, thrilling victory over crosstown rival Wallington. The team consisted of all freshmen and one junior. They played hard throughout the season, and the future is very bright for this group. Wrestling is still underway as the team is preparing for the district tournament. The boys' district tournament will take place at Del Barton High School, and the girls will take place at Nutley High School. The top 4 wrestlers from each weight class will advance to the regions, and for girls, it's the top 3 wrestlers in each weight class. We are wishing our wrestlers the best of luck and hoping to report that our wrestlers will be heading to Atlantic City in the state championship. Winter track had a great season. We are a co-op with Wallington High School, and we had a sectional champion shot putter. Although he was from Wallington, he represented the Blue Devils very well. Congratulations to Patrick on this great achievement. And my report is brief. How's the weather? Obviously, we dealt with some inclement weather, which resulted in us using 3 emergency days. The only problem is our calendar allotted only 2, which for the last couple of years has worked out very well for us. Right now, we're in the hole, 1 emergency day. I am not going to give any recommendation to the board until I see what the future holds for us weather-wise. And I also have to add that I spoke with the county superintendent today, because there are many districts. This was a very rare occurrence weather-wise. There are many districts in the same boat, and he promised me that he'd be releasing guidance at some point tomorrow or Monday. I don't know what the guidance is going to be, but he said, please wait a little bit. So once I have that information, I'll be able to recommend to the board any changes in our board calendar. I'm hoping for great weather. I greatly appreciate the patience of the community, staff members, our students in waiting for Mr. Albro to make that call. I want to thank the building and grounds crew of our district as well as the borough DPW for their coordination. They did a fantastic job for all that snow that came down. They did a great job of clearing things out to get our kids back in the building. It was a little bit hairy on Wednesday with the snow falling, but we eventually got there, and hopefully we'll see sunshine and like 60-degree temperatures moving forward. Mr. Nieves, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustees, comments, questions? Yes, I must say the job that the team did both collectively, our crew as well as mayor and council on the town DPW was really good. I've driven through some other towns, and I have to say it was quite uncomfortable. On to our BA report.
Good evening, everyone. As February comes to a close, I'm pleased to report that the business office has finalized all required tax-related submissions to both the state and federal governments. I would like to sincerely thank my outstanding staff for their diligence and hard work in completing these significant and time-sensitive responsibilities. In addition to our regular business office functions, including purchasing payroll, we've been deeply involved in the development of the 2026-2027 school year budget. The preliminary budget is anticipated to be presented for board approval at our meeting later in March. I would like to thank our teachers and administrators for their cooperation in submitting anticipated budget requests for next year while we were still midway through the current year. Balancing present responsibilities while planning ahead is no small task, and their efforts are greatly appreciated. I look forward to formally presenting the final budget later in the spring. Turning to finance, we have several resolutions before you this evening, which you have heard already. Item 1 was approval of the bills list. Item 2, approval of the board secretaries and treasurer's report for January. Item 3 was certification of a balanced budget. Item 4 is approval of monthly budget transfers. In addition, we have resolutions pertaining to fundraisers. That's item 5 and 6, acceptance of donations, item 7, and the tuition reimbursements for staff, items 8 and 9. I would like to briefly address resolutions 10 through 13. These resolutions collectively approve the withdrawal of the Woodridge School District from the State Educators Health Benefits Plan, authorize entry into NJ Solutions, a joint health insurance fund, and designate Brown & Brown as broker of record during this transition. Premiums under the State Educators Health Benefits Plan have increased dramatically over the past 2 years, with projections indicating continued upward pressure. In light of this environment, the district believed it was fiscally responsible to explore alternative options. By transitioning from the state plan, we joined many districts statewide, including roughly 1/3 of school districts in Bergen County that have moved to joint insurance funds or other alternative structures. Through participation in NJ Solutions, we're projecting first-year savings in excess of $1 million. I would also like to note that approximately 20% of our staff will experience an 11% drop in their current contributions. Importantly, this transition is designed not only to strengthen the district financially and reduce pressure on taxpayers, but also to continue providing our staff with comprehensive, high-quality health benefits. Throughout this process, we have remained focused on preserving high-quality coverage for our employees, while also strengthening the district's long-term financial stability. This decision was made after careful review, financial analysis, and consideration of both the district's fiscal responsibilities and the quality of employee benefits. That concludes my report for this evening. I thank you for your time. I would also like to thank the board for its continued service and thoughtful consideration of these important matters. The administration thanks the board for their support of these recommendations. Thank you.
You have a few more pages there.
I'm sorry. I read the paper.
Thank you. All right, one more, and then we have a presentation to go through. So trustees, approval of the minutes upon the recommendation of the superintendent. The Board of Education approved the minutes of the following meetings. It's public session meeting, February 2nd, 2026. Can I get it first? Mr. Fallon, Mr. Bimonte, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Fallon?
Yes.
Mrs. Milano?
Yes.
Mr. Biamonte?
Yes.
Mr. Nieves?
Yes. All right, trustees, we're going to take a step down. I apologize. I should have said, I said Ms. Mussel before. So Kelly's going to come up. She has a presentation. I do have to depart. So the only thing we have left to do after Kelly is to take any questions and then to go through any hearing of the citizens on anything they'd like to talk about. So we will turn it over to you. Good luck.
Can I hold it? Mr. Fallon said I could begin without him. Mr. Fallon said that I could begin without him, so I'm going to begin without him, so I don't keep anyone here longer than they need to be. Thank you again tonight. This presentation is curriculum, instruction, and the NJDOE alignment. As you can see, I was supposed to be here on Monday, but due to Mother Nature, she had other plans. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight about curriculum, design, instruction, and how my work aligns with the New Jersey Department of Education's expectations, including the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, curriculum mandates, and district accountability requirements. You're going to hear about curriculum design. You're going to hear about those expectations and mandates, and you're going to hear about what we do in district to meet those, as well as how we use the Understanding by Design template, and it aligns with NJSLS. At the foundation of our curriculum work is Understanding by Design, or UBD, which is
which is fully aligned to the NJDOE's definition of a standards-based curriculum. UBD requires us to begin with an end in mind, identifying what students are expected to know and be able to do in alignment with the NJSLS, and then intentionally designing assessments and instructional experiences that support these outcomes. The NJDOE monitors our district's progress, including curriculum, assessment, and special education during CUSAC monitoring. Our district uses UBD templates to ensure curriculum documents meet the NJDOE expectations for clear alignment to the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, measurable student learning objectives, assessments that demonstrate proficiency, instruction that supports diverse learners. We will see that sorry, I have a script. A room full of adults makes me really nervous, sorry. If you gave me a room full of fifth graders, great. But now my script's all out of whack. There it is. In UBD, we begin with the standards and the enduring understandings. The NJDOE requires a specific alignment to NJSLS performance expectations, so therefore our first stage must do the same. We clearly cite our NJSLS standards, we identify our essential questions, we embed the legal legislative mandates, we ensure that grade band expectations are met. Compliance strengthens our clarity and our outcomes. In stage 2, we have assessment evidence. The NJDOE and CUSAC monitoring requires evidence of formative assessments, summative assessments, benchmark assessments, and alternative assessments. UBD pushes us to design performance-based assessments that demonstrate the transfer of learning. To align both, assessments must measure NJSLS performance expectations, as well as the mandated topics must be meaningfully addressed and not just simply mentioned. Compliance ensures documentation. UBD ensures assessments are meaningful and rigorous. Stage 3, the learning plan and the instruction. NJDOE and CUSAC requires pacing guides, core and supplemental materials, including primary and secondary resources, integration of disciplinary practices, accommodations and modifications, interdisciplinary connections. UBD requires intentional sequencing aligned to assessment goals. Our district must ensure that learning activities are not textbook-driven, but goal-driven. Content practices are embedded. Materials reflect diverse perspectives required by mandates. Accommodations are integrated into design rather than afterward. Compliance verifies inclusion. UBD ensures coherence. I know I threw out a lot of letters and acronyms and information in there, but it will all make more sense in just a moment. So this is how we keep track of the alignment to our NJDOE expectations. This is the example of the CUSAC curriculum revision checklist. The example is the CUSAC social studies and the mathematics one. Within the social studies one is a compliance tool that's helped districts demonstrate alignment within the social studies standards. The document ensures that the curriculum aligns with state standards, requires historical content and civic education are implemented, mandated topics are included across grade levels, instruction is accessible to all learners, assessment and instructional materials meet state expectations. Failure to meet these mandates may result in the loss during CUSAC review. The little tiny boxes that you can barely see represent the core areas of review. They include the standards alignment for every grade, K to 12, which will include being aligned to the NJSLS, being aligned to having a pacing guide, making sure there's interdisciplinary practice within there, making sure you have core and supplemental materials, making sure you have multiple and different types of assessment, making sure that this is vertical articulation and the consistent rigor across grade levels. You have to make sure as your administration that is all there. Also, you'll have to check for the little boxes, the required legislative mandates. This checklist verifies inclusion of the following state mandated topics: the Amistad Commission mandate, which is the instruction of the African slave trade, slavery in America, its legacy, and the contributions of African Americans; Holocaust Commission mandate, which is the instruction of addressing the Holocaust, genocide, bias, prejudice, and bigotry; Asian American and Pacific Islanders, or AAPI, an inclusion of their history, heritage, and contributions; diversity, equity, and inclusion mandate, and the history of persons with disabilities, LGBTQ individuals, which is required in middle and high school. Most of these mandates are K to 12, and obviously they are taught in an age and grade level appropriate way. Non-compliance with these certain mandates will result in a loss of points for that indicator. Along with those mandates are also the grade band indicators. So within each of those mandates, there's certain focus indicators that are looked for. For example, within social studies for K to 2, roles with family and school and community. American identity, like symbols and holidays and monuments, or foundational government concepts, local history and economics are looked at. Students start to build civics and foundational awareness. Grades 3 to 5, I'm sure many of us remember what we learned in 4th grade when we learned all about New Jersey. Well, that's where that falls into there. Things like the Mayflower Compact and the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, early America. Students are truly deepening their historical understanding. They start to look at primary documents. Grades 6 to 8, this was when we started to look more deeper into the world history of things. This is where we talk about our early river valley civilizations, those Mayas, the Incas, the Aztecs. Greece and Rome, world religions, medieval empire, Byzantine empire, Afro-Eurasian trade networks, feudalism, and the Crusades, making sure that we're touching upon all those things. And I know it sounds like a ton of information I'm giving you, and those are all those little check boxes. And then as you continue on in grades 7 and 8, the most important thing is the civics, or the Laura Wooten Law. New Jersey requires that you are taught a half a year or 1 semester's worth of civics instruction. So that is a mandate that is embedded within grades 7 and 8. It's within grade 7. And then in grades 9 through 12, you have to have a minimum of 1 year world history and a minimum of 2 years US history. And within those little boxes, you will see things again like advanced civic analysis, economic reasoning. And again, the legislative mandates continue up through high school. Also within the NJDOE expectations across all grade levels are the content practices. These are basically the big ideas or the big thoughts that go within the content that guide your teachers through their lessons and help our students become critical, deep thinkers. So for example, for social studies, some of those practices include developing questions and planning inquiry, gathering and evaluating sources, seeking diverse perspectives. These aren't just ideas that children are going to use in social studies. These are ideas that children are going to use throughout their whole learning experience and onwards into their adult lives. The emphasis isn't on the content knowledge, it's on civic reasoning, it's on historical thinking skills. It's a compliance document, but it's also a reflection tool for us to make sure that our social studies instruction, our mathematics instruction, our science instruction, there's one for every content area, prepares our students to be informed, engaged citizens. This is our curriculum design. So the Woodridge School District is responsible for ensuring full compliance to match those curriculum review checklists for all content areas. At the same time that we remain committed to designing meaningful student-centered curriculum using the UBD framework. These two priorities are not in conflict. In fact, when implemented intentionally, they strengthen one another. Our materials reflect diverse perspectives required by mandates, and accommodations are integrated into design rather than afterward. Again, compliance verifies inclusion, UBD ensures coherence. This is an example of our document. This is our world history curriculum. So you will see that all of those check boxes that I just discussed are mentioned throughout this document. So here are our practices. And if you continue to scroll through, there are our statutes or our administrative codes. Pacing guide, which will tell you how long something is going to be taught for. Important, an instruction or introduction or abstract as to what goes on within the course. The titles of which things are taught, you heard me mention those mandates. I have them color coded as to when they appear within which unit. Some units, obviously, you can teach more than one of those mandates. And then, as I mentioned, we go by a UBD style template. So you will see it starts with our unit goal, which is our overarching thought. What do we want to do at the end? And then we have our essential questions. And we have, which is what do we want our students to be able to tell us? What's the purpose of government? How is living under various types of rulers advantageous or disadvantageous? And how should citizens interact with their government? And the enduring understandings. What do we want our students to take away from this lesson? Our student outcomes. What will students be able to do? Those are our objectives through our lessons. We have our academic and targeted vocabulary. We have our formative assessment, our summative assessments, our benchmark assessments, and our alternative assessments. We have our resources, which include both our digital and our print resources that our teachers are able to use. And then as you scroll down, you continue to get the performance expectations. So these are the actual content standards for social studies. So that's the 6s. And those are the core ideas that are aligned with it. So as you're hitting upon those content standards, these are the core ideas that run along with them. These are the practices that I mentioned that are addressed throughout that unit. Then you not only are hitting those performance expectations, you have to hit performance expectations for computer design, science and design thinking. You also have to hit your career readiness, life literacies, and key skills, and which are your also practices there. Interdisciplinary, what other subjects tie into what is being taught? In this case, it was a lot of English language arts. Climate change, if applicable. 21st century themes. The SEL competencies. SEL Day is next Tuesday, March 2nd. And then, of course, those mandates that I mentioned, which particular ones may be applicable during that unit, in this case, DEI. And then at the bottom, of course, we have our different modifications and accommodations for our different styles of learners. Because as we know, it's not one style fits all. We can't have every learner learn from the same way. So we have to accommodate our gifted and talented, or our enriched learners, our multilingual learners, as well as our students with IEPs, 504s, and our possible at-risk learners. And how are we doing that? Here are possibilities. And that continues on throughout every single unit and every single one through 10 content areas. In New Jersey, curriculum design must also state, as I mentioned, the state mandated instructional requirements. The NJDOE specifies that certain mandates must be embedded within defined grade bands and subject areas, rather than taught in isolation. These mandates include, as you heard me mention, Holocaust, Amistad, diversity, equity, and inclusion, AAPI, LGBTQ+, civics, government, media literacy, health, wellness requirements such as Lyme disease, grief education, sexting, mental health, dating violence, and CPR AED. And that's just to name a few from our comprehensive health and PE section. Technology and data literacy. Our curriculum documents must identify where these mandates are taught, as you see I've color-coded them, reinforced, and assessed, ensuring compliance with NJDOE guidance and clarity for teachers. So I have within our pacing guide, I have it color coded. Pink in this case is Amistad, blue is civics. So when you click into the civics document, our 7th grade, this would be our 7th grade, grade 7, they can actually go right into, here's our practices. And they can go into the pacing guide, and there's actually another link that will take them right into Unit 1 of the civics that they'd be able to open and would take them to an existing document where they'd be able to learn the civics, find the civics information and meet their civics mandate. Oops, sorry. Once the standards and mandates are embedded, the curriculum must also reflect the NJDOE's emphasis on equitable access to instruction. That means the curriculum must be designed for all learners, not just some. Our units incorporate differentiation aligned to the universal design for learning principles, which include multiple pathways to access content, varied instructional strategies, and supports and extension for our diverse learning needs. This ensures alignment with NJDOE expectations are related to special ed, multilingual learners, and MTSS structures while maintaining rigorous grade level instruction. Assessment is another critical area of alignment, and our curriculum includes formative, summative, benchmark, and alternative. Formative assessments to inform daily instruction. Summative assessments are aligned to unit goals. Benchmark assessments to monitor our progress throughout the year, and alternative assessments that allow students to demonstrate learning in authentic ways. All of this work supports student readiness for statewide assessments such as the NJSLA-A, while ensuring instruction remains focused on deep understanding rather than test prep alone. A balanced, emphasized repeatedly in the NJDOE guidance. District curriculum leadership. So how do I fall into this role and many of our other leaders within our district? In my current role, I am responsible for revising, reviewing, editing, and selecting district curriculum for grades pre-K through 12 across 10 content areas. My responsibility is to ensure curriculum is aligned to the most current NJSLS, vertically articulated so skills progress logically from grade to grade, and free from gaps, unnecessary repetition, and misalignment. This vertical alignment is a key expectation outlined by the NJDOE and is essential for long-term student success. This work is deeply meaningful to me because when I was in the classroom, I experienced the impact of disconnected curriculum firsthand. Lessons were often repeated year to year with limited rigor and little exposure to complex text or higher order thinking. Our students deserved better, and that realization drove change. 4 years ago, that led to the adoption of Savvis My View literacy program for grades K to 5. It was selected for its alignment to the NJSLS for language arts and its emphasis on structured literacy and complex text. And this is just one example of the improvements our district has made. The data reflects the impact of that intentional alignment. In 2021 to 2022, in ELA, our 5th grade average scaled score was a 752. In 2022, the first year of implementation, scores dipped. That's natural. The NJDOE even agrees with that, to 747. And in reality, that's not a huge drop. After 2 full years, our scores rose to a 755. And last year, as Mr. Albro shared within his presentation, our scores went up to a 777. We also saw our strongest 5th grade science NJSLA performance in 3 years, reinforcing the NJDOE's position that a coherent, aligned curriculum strengthens achievement across content areas. Beyond curriculum writing, I design and coordinate district professional development days aligned to the NJDOE priorities and updates. I bring in meaningful workshops, present on instructional best practices, state-level changes, and organize opportunities for teachers to observe effective instruction in other districts. I'm not going to open those slideshows for you, but you can see them at any point. Those were things that I'd presented for the staff. One is on our school district state testing results. One is our back to school PD days for all 3 schools, including all of the links and asynchronous things that they needed to follow. And then the one on the bottom was a standards-based rubric that I put together for our grades K-2 teachers for help when they were putting together their report cards. I conduct evaluations not simply for compliance, but as tools for professional growth. This, even though evaluations take a really long time, and my other administrators can agree on this, they're not the fun part of the day. They actually are my favorite thing to do. And that's because of the fact that I can often tell the students that I'm here to learn with you today. In a single year, I can complete up to 65 observations across the district, spanning kindergarten through high school, specialists, and child study team members. There's exceptional teaching happening within this district, and I value and recognize and support that work. And that is why it's one of my favorite things to do. Finally, I continually research and recommend instructional best practices to ensure our district remains aligned to NJDOE guidance, evolving pedagogy, educational technology, and the science of learning. This is just some information that I had put together for that presentation. The constant how and why is constantly driving me within my job, as well as then questions from the teachers are within my job. And finally, I thank you all for your continued support, obviously, of our curriculum work that is standards aligned, vertically articulated, and centered on student growth. I'm proud of the progress we made, and I'm confident that this work positions our students and our district for further continued success.
Thank you for that presentation, Ms. Dusak. Any questions from the board for our curriculum coordinator?
Ms. Dudzik, that was a great presentation. My number one takeaway is Mr. Albert, she wants more observations to do. But no.
I'm very serious. We have exceptional teachers and teaching and learning going on in this district, and we as a district should be very proud of what goes on here.
And we are, thank you. And this presentation was very helpful, at least to me, and seeing all this information was very helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
So when we do get the test results, like how are these updated annually? Are they updated, like how often is it updated? And how do the test results as one measure like drive future change?
What do you mean by these?
When we have, Mr. Albro presented on some test results
So those are our
recently,
yearly test
right?
results, which are NJSLA results or our standardized tests. Those are just one measure that we use to drive our curriculum, to make our curriculum. We obviously can accommodate and modify our curriculum anytime we want. It's a living, breathing document. It has to be board approved every year, but we can change it as often as we want to. At any point throughout the year, if there's something that we see just isn't working, or we have to change the order of a pacing guide because we realized, for example, oh my gosh, we're teaching geometry in June. The kids are taking the test in April and they're not seeing geometry till June. What are we doing? They should be seeing it in February or March. That's when we can modify those kinds of things. So a curriculum document can honestly be changed and modified and worked with throughout any point within the year. As for the test scores are once a year. When they come out, they come out. Those scores are then used to determine where our weaknesses are, because then we look at those test scores because then they are then broken down by subject area. I'm able to go in and look at the website and literally see what our strengths and weaknesses are. Is it literacy? And is it specific to theme? Or is it nonfiction? Or is it sequencing of events? Is it our writing? Where does it lie? And where do we need to bulk up within our curriculum? And sometimes it isn't our curriculum. Sometimes it's teachers, and sometimes it's not our teachers, it's our students. In K-6, they're still really young. We can sell it. We can tell them like, this test is important. Go in there and give it your all. You're so for it. But in 7 to 12, it's really hard to get buy-in still. And they're a little older and they don't really take it quite as serious still. So it's a little harder to get them to sit there and give it their all on that test because they're kind of onto it by that point. And that's kind of when you get those clickers who will just get the test done to be done. So I try to keep that in mind when I review those things. Also, not every kid's a good test taker. And some kids are amazing test takers. And sometimes your amazing test taker had a fight that day with their mom, or didn't eat breakfast, or didn't get enough sleep the night before. And when they came and took that test, they bombed. And usually you expect them to do better. Or vice versa. The kid that you didn't expect to do well, did well. And on top of that, we're thinking major growth. Like we're looking at these numbers and we're like, oh my gosh, major growth. We also have to celebrate the small bits of growth. We have to think of our special ed students who might have been a 1, who are now a 2. That's huge for them because they weren't supposed to do that. Or a 2 who are now a 3, or a 3 that are now a 4. We're working to move those types of things, and we're working to push them ahead. Our 7th and 8th grade scores have been quite low, and we know that that's our weakness. We've brought SAVIS into 7th and 8th grade. We actually have it in 7 through 12 now for literacy. This is the first year of it. I'm hoping that we start to see a result that we're seeing within K-6. And we've done some teacher movement up there. I'm hoping we start to see some results up there. I'm hoping that this teachers stress the importance, and maybe our scores will continue to grow up there.
The changes that happen at the younger grades are past, our older children are past that.
Correct. And
so
since this is
finding ways
being
to
recorded,
adapt.
I want all the parents to tell their children how important the test is. And then you guys too can go home and tell your children how important the test is. Because even though test scores do not make a child, and I said it in my perfect scores presentation at the beginning of the year, if it is something that the state is going to hold against us, because as we said during CUSAC, we can't change our test scores. Our test scores are our test scores in our district monitoring. Those cannot be erased. Those cannot be changed. They are what they are. But the only way we can change them is if our students do better. And I know from what I see in the classrooms that we can do better because our teachers are giving it their all and our students are definitely capable of doing it. They just have to apply themselves and do it.
Ms. Dudzik, so I know, I'm pretty sure I know answers to this, but just to state this. So the curriculum is just a tool for the teachers. It's not
Correct.
a step-by-step, you have to follow this. How does it work within the district that if a teacher realizes that this particular grade level in this particular class is having issues that year, and they feel that they need to spend more time on that unit, and maybe next year they realize, you know what, it's the same kind of thing because the curriculum's changed or whatever. How does that stuff get relayed back to you so that you turn around then and change the curriculum to maybe make some alterations to it or something like that?
This actually happened with my 5th grade math team, and this actually happened with the high school, with social studies 3 through 12. They actually reach out to me and they say, hey, we realize that like the way things are paced out, it's not working. The students aren't understanding it. We're not seeing complete mastery. Our students are bombing the assessments. We're not meeting the standards. So we will sit down and we will rework the curriculum over the summer. So I'll talk to them through May and June after testing and their reflection. And then throughout the summer, I will rework the pacing guide and then give it back to them and ask them if they like the way that it would be. And then before it gets board approved in August, and then they will say whether that's the direction they want to go in. And then if they like that, that's what they'll try the next year. And then guess what? If it doesn't work, you change it again the next year. Nothing is set in stone. And again, you don't have to teach in order of a textbook. You don't have to necessarily use the textbook like the way it's presented. That is a guide for you, and the curriculum is a guide for you as well. It's just an additional tool within your toolbox.
does the state give us the recommended pacing, or that's just something that we do completely on our own?
If you could talk to the state, that would be amazing, Mr. Fallon.
There's no.
But no, they don't. They don't, the state does not recommend anything. All that they say is you have 180 days and you need to fulfill your time within 180 days. But of course, you need to consider 3 snow days that you are going to use, book fairs, Christmas boutiques, winter concerts, fire drills, lockdowns, assemblies, and all the other wonderful things that come along within your teaching. So how many true teaching days are you going to have? So you have to work that into your pacing guide.
Now, there's a lot of, well, I believe a lot of changes coming next year with curriculum. How big is that change and how hard is that going to be affecting us?
It's going to be pretty major. First of all, the state of New Jersey revamps their standards every 5 to 7 years. They look at the content areas every 5 to 7. I say 5 to 7 because usually they look at the 8 like sub areas every 7, and they look at reading and math every 5. They just did reading and math, so we're on 2023. So we have some time there. But we have already started within the state. They've already started talking about the visual and performing arts. They've already started talking about science. They've already talked about social studies. So even though our curriculums are being updated, we're going to have to update all of our documents to reflect the newest state standards when they are released. So that would mean going through all of our documents and just making sure that they reflect the most current NJSLS that is being used. On top of it, there are new mandates that are being released within the state. For example, the cursive handwriting mandate that is coming out for grades 3 to 5. That's going to be a whole set of standards that is probably going to come along. It's going to fall within the ELA standards. I hope they're not too extensive and crazy. They're really going to be mostly for understanding primary documents. That's why they're being passed. But they want students to be able to read and write fluently in cursive. So we're going to have to create some kind of document that reflects that. So we are going to need some kind of curriculum to have in store for that. So that will be another curriculum that I will have to explore and reach out to Ms. Schmidt and Ms. Gugumati and hope that we can sit down and come up with something put in place for our teachers to use.
I don't often agree with the state curriculum, but that one I do. Sorry.
But do you know how many teachers don't know how to write in cursive?
Good? Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Okay, going to open up the hearing of citizens for anything you want to talk about.
Hi, Karen Monteculo, 237 North Avenue. I'm a proud first grade parent and a 13-year homeowner in Woodridge. So you may remember me from last year. I came to a couple meetings to express my concerns about the PTA, and I'm back here tonight again as a concerned parent. In September, it was announced that the PTA and the school administration had jointly decided to eliminate the long-standing tradition of class parents due to lack of participation. Instead of having class parents this year in each classroom, the structure was replaced by 2 class parties, a holiday party, and an end-of-year party that would be solely programmed and run by PTA board members. No broad calls for volunteers was made, no survey to gauge interest, no outreach to understand who would be willing to step up. At the second PTA meeting last year, so over the course of this year, I've heard consistent disappointment from parents like myself and even from teachers that we've moved away from class parents in the classroom. At our second PTA meeting last night, again without any presence from administration, teachers, or board members, I raised the idea of revisiting the bringing back class parents into our classroom. The PTA board was open to it, but it was suggested that I come here tonight to talk to you all to understand if you too would be open to it. So here I am. We talked a lot last year about increasing parent engagement in our schools. Class parents are a meaningful, low-cost way to do exactly that and to build community. So I ask, Why are we turning away willing parent volunteers? And I'm asking directly, are you open to bringing that back into our schools to continue to fuel that bond and that community? I also must say again, as I did last year, I remain deeply concerned about the governance of the PTA. Decisions are made in a vacuum by the 5 unelected members of the board. To my knowledge, there has not been an election of the PTA in recent history. Last year, we were told that they were finishing out their 2-year terms this year. We were told last night that that may continue into next year. I know the PTA is not directly in your purview, but I would love to hear your perspective. I am not here seeking conflict. I am asking for participation, transparency, and that our voices be heard. I respectfully ask you, our elected board members who are there to represent us as parents, to hear my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony, you want to address the class parents?
Mrs. M, good to see you again.
Hi, Mr. Alvaro.
Could you tell me, in terms of class parents, what would be your projected, how many class parents would each class have?
I believe last year there were 2.
I think Ms. Schmidt wants to weigh in as well.
Can you repeat that? Because I didn't have my hearing aid in.
Last year there were 2. Yeah.
I'm very pro-class parent. Since I started at Doyle, however, and at the beginning, I kind of thought maybe it was COVID related, people weren't so comfortable coming into the building anymore. It declined, where it started out where a couple classes we couldn't get parents for, and people were donating their time for kids that weren't in their class, and then it continuously declined, where I think last year, a 2nd grade parent was doing like 3 classes. So in speaking to the teachers, they also found that it wasn't a helpful experience, like the majority of teachers. Now, of course, there are teachers that like us parents. Like there's somebody who feels the same about everything, right? So that's kind of where it came from, was just feedback from teachers. We'd like less parties, we'll do our own thing. But I understand the need to get involved and want to be involved. Kids want to be involved, want to be involved. So I'm super open about it. I've spoken to the PTA. I'd love to revisit it.
Excellent.
So, yeah, I get it, and I truly get it. And I like your idea of maybe sending out some sort of interest survey before announcing, like, yes or no.
And I would be happy to lead it. You know, I'm a believer of lending your talents. That is what I do as a profession. I lead all of Insights for a multi-million-dollar media company. I can do insight strategy for the PTA. I'm happy to do that.
Mrs. Schmidt, can I also weigh in? I just want to say, going back years ago without dating myself, this is not a new problem. I was a class parent for both of my kids in both classes, going through. And there were very many times where I was the only one. And there were some other classes that didn't have them as well. And we tried to do our best to help with getting those other classes situated as well. It's not a new problem. I would hate to turn around and say, first of all, I'm for it. That's fine. But as long as all classes are covered, and that's my biggest concern, because if you're going to have it in 2nd grade and 3rd grade and 4th grade, all classes need to be covered, because otherwise you got the student who doesn't understand. Let's face it, they don't understand at that level why this class is having a party and that class is not. So there has to be that full input or nothing, in my opinion.
Certainly. And I think it was part of what we discussed in our smaller PTA meeting last night, that if there was communication saying, we need parents to take multiple classrooms, there were plenty of parents in the room just last night who said, sign me up. I also think we had a big resurgence at our PTA meeting in the fall. To my knowledge, that was the best attended PTA meeting in years, because we had gotten the word out, gotten momentum, gotten enthusiasm for parents to get involved. You have a very big population in Doyle now with parents who I think are trying to learn how to work the school system, are trying to learn how to get involved. Let's embrace them. Let's try again. And anything I can do to corral that enthusiasm into a productive, operationalized system like class parents, I am very happy to be a part of. Absolutely.
Because then we could figure out, hey, yes, we could do it, or you know what, it's not gonna work, let's figure something else out and have the parents come in.
That sounds like an excellent plan. I appreciate that. Thank you all.
I'm just going to add, I agree, having been here long enough and had class parents and having served as a class parent, as principal for my daughter not being in the school, to make sure they have one, I'm open to having the discussion.
Okay.
Having been here long enough, I'm going to throw out some rhetorical questions. How many class parents in each class? How should you select them? Should they repeat each year just because they're a class parent the year before? When it's all said and done, should the same class parent do it for 6 years in a row at the expense of someone else not getting the opportunity? So those are the type of things that we have to set in stone moving forward, because I think there has to be a, I don't want to use the word equity, but if the spirit is to get more involvement, if it's only in the 6th grade, the same 12 parents as class parents, and there are 125 students in the grade, I don't think we're not engaging people that way. So I think the discussion has to really center on who do we want to involve, how do we involve them? If we get 15 parents in the same class that want to be class parent, are we having a debate? Are we having submitting resumes? So we have to really think about is how big we want this engagement to be in each class, how we're going to determine if we're going to pick them, and then what we do moving forward each year. Because again, we want every year. I know in my own district where I live, my wife never got picked to be class parent. And I was on the Board of Education. And she felt like I work from home, I can be there, the school's a block away, and she never got picked. So I think those are the things that the PTA, the administration, myself, we have to really put together a good game plan to make it something that's going to be positive and productive and have the ability to engage everybody. Obviously, 600 kids in the school, roughly 1,200 parents or guardians. That's a lot of people to be class parent. So I think it's definitely worth entertaining. I do know that COVID created the situation where no one could come into the building. And I don't know if people drew comfort in that. From a security perspective, the door's not opening as many times as it used to.
Sure.
We now have superior security. So I definitely think this is something that can be entertained.
Fantastic.
Ms. Guglielmani, again.
I just want to add, when you talk about class parents and PTAs, considering it's a K-12 inclusive PTA, when we address parent input, like Mr. Allen and Mr. Alba referenced 6th grade, we need to make sure that parent involvement will be K-12. Because typically, as a parent in town myself, as students age, parent involvement tends to typically decrease. So I need the board and the PTA to consider that the plan B for K-12, because the PTA is K-12. So if we're doing class parents, the focus cannot just be a Doyle school, it would need to also represent intermediate school and the high school.
Sure. Were there class parents in the high school prior?
No, there wasn't.
No.
It stopped at 6th grade.
That's in the intermediate, right?
But again,
Yeah.
this is the opportunity to make that change.
Yeah. And I think if we can speak to the population of parents and understand how they want to get involved, and again, I feel there's enthusiasm. We have a new school, we have a new population, we are growing, and people are raising their hands and they are confused about how to get involved. If we can understand how they want to get involved, all work together, I do think we can impact real change.
Like, I know that PTA is like the intermediary, but some things don't have to go through the PTA. I would love to just work directly with parents. We don't know unless we're told, like, hey, we'd love more involvement. Sometimes you go through the school year sort of doing things that you previously did without, any new or fresh ideas. So anytime I would encourage you or anybody that you speak to, reach out to us. And certainly, like I said, it really enriched my whole upbringing, my whole school experience, having my mother-in-law.
Yeah. And I agree. Having an incredibly strong PTA growing up shaped the course of my especially younger childhood education. So thank you. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would like to say that I was supposed to be there yesterday, but my flight was canceled.
No excuse, Michelle. Anyone else?
And I think we have to have the teachers involved in this conversation because it's their classrooms and they need to be part of this because there's a lot of, and some change may need to happen from how it has been run in the past. But I think our PTA is open to all of this.
So we'll all agree that there'll be some type of a meeting for all the concerned parties, and we'll see what the class parent initiative looks like moving forward. All right? Sounds good. Sir?
Hi, Jim Fauché, 147 10th Street. In the interest of brevity, we've covered a lot tonight, and I want to just make a couple of quick comments. The agenda made it clear that the board has made a change to the health insurance that covers our staff. And some of the previous speakers did mention that they didn't feel that they got an ample amount of time prior to that change. When asking, the board stated that we did not need to consult the teachers prior to making that change. I think in the interest, or bearing in mind that Ms. Dudzak mentioned that we do have an incredibly solid staff, and in the interest of retaining and possibly bringing in new staff members, considering that, most of the towns are significantly experiencing teacher shortages, I think in the interest of transparency and going forward in decisions of this nature, that it's imperative, even if it's not required, that the input be taken into all the considered parties. I think it's ill-advised to make a decision of that scope without bringing members of the staff or the unions that it would affect in, even if it's not required, because I think it creates a circumstance where the people who those changes impact don't feel that they have any buy-in on it. And in order to retain the quality of staff that we have and to bring in other quality staff, we need to let our staff know, from teachers to administrators up, that their interests are as important as the interests of financial security or anything else that we're taking into consideration when we make decisions of that nature. The other question I had was from Ms. Dutzig. You mentioned going through your presentation, there are an enormous amount of things that our curriculum is, or it seems to be, that there is an enormous amount of things that our curriculum is guided by requirements of the state. My question would be to you, given how much the state requires us to have in a curriculum, how much leeway or how much extra areas that leave for you and the staff and the administration to develop curriculum that's not necessarily what's required? How much space do you have to teach our students things that we feel as a community and a board and educators that are in their best interest to learn, that aren't necessarily things that are predicated by the state's requirements?
Kind of a double-edged sword on that answer. There are things that we can teach and we can do that are not necessarily state mandated. A lot of electives that are taught within the 7 through 12 building are not necessarily state mandated. They fulfill state mandates such as business or tech ed or life skills like culinary, those kinds of things. But there are still state mandates that must be a part of those curriculums when they are put together and presented for the teachers.
Okay, I think my concern was just looking at that presentation, that there seems to be a lot of stuff that's boilerplate to the state that doesn't give us a lot of ability to change curriculum to suit what we feel would be in the best interest of the students, and hopefully that's not the case. So I think that covered it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do we have any questions online? No. Closing the hearing, citizens. Confirming, fellow trustees, that we have no new or unfinished business. All right, motion to adjourn. First. Second. All in favor? Any close?
Thank you.